Hey, folks, you're listening to the Jobs Podcast, and I am your host, Tim Hendricks. I'm not going to waste your time by babbling on endlessly. We're going to go ahead and get right to the interview. Today, we've got Matt with us. Matt is an entrepreneur that has multiple businesses. He's been successful in all of them, and he's got a ton of irons in the fire, and hopefully he can share some great information. How you doing, Matt?
Hey, Tim, I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
You bet, bud. So let's just start off. Let's get right to it. You were born. You were telling me before we started the podcast that you are from Texas.
Yes, sir.
Born and
Born and
raised, I
raised.
assume.
Born
Oh,
and
there you go.
raised. Yeah, yeah. Went out to California for a little while, went to college out there. That's where you and I met and
Yeah.
had a great time. But I don't know, spent 7 years in San Diego, enough to finish school, have a job out there, and get married, and then move my wonderful bride back here to Dallas.
Right on. My mom is from Texas, and so I was raised that the air in Texas is better, and of course everything is better in Texas. And I've been there a number of times, and it's a pretty amazing place. I certainly enjoy it. Plus, you have In and Out, so you can't go wrong with that. But
That's right. That's right. Yeah, man. We got a lot of cool stuff that started here, and now we
yeah,
got like Raising Canes and I don't know, it's a pretty cool place. It is. People are cool. It's a nice place to raise a family. So yeah, love it.
good. Well, let's get into the meat of what I typically do on the Jobs Podcast, which is talk about your job. Now, you don't have just one job, you've got multiple irons in the fire. Tell me about your businesses and your ventures and kind of where they started and where they're going.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not a typical person. I don't think I haven't met many people that do what I do from day in and day out. But I am the owner of two businesses, and I manage a third for my father. So my day to day is kind of crazy, but uh, one business I inherited from my father. It's a printing business. My dad started it in 1973, and so we are over 50 years old now.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I took over that business as 100% owner in 2014, so 10 years ago. My second business is a website development and a search engine optimization and online marketing business.
Very
So,
nice.
yeah, so if you ever did a Google search and you wonder how those websites pop up to the top, that's me. If you've ever been to a website and then you later on go somewhere else and you see an ad for that website that you were just on, that's me. If you've ever been to a website and thought this thing runs really cool or this thing runs really sadly, that's me. So,
Now, the first business that you were talking about that you got from your dad, he built that, I'm assuming, from the ground up, and then kind of raised you and formed you and taught you all the ins and outs of that type of career. You said it's a printing business, is that right?
yes, sir. Yep.
What, when you say printing business, give me some examples of things that you would print.
So the easiest way to describe it is we print anything on paper.
Okay.
So being anything from business cards to postcards to big posters to pocket folders to flyers to postcards or I don't know
My
envelopes,
goodness.
on and on. If it's on paper, we print it. If it's not on paper, we might print it. We do some signage. We do some vinyl banners. Yard signs, so quarter
Hmm.
glass and things like that. But yeah, and mostly for businesses
Okay.
in the Dallas area. But some of it is individuals. But I'd say 90% of our business is commercial.
Sure. Well, that probably keeps you pretty busy. Dallas is a pretty large town. What's the population roughly? Do you know of Dallas?
And I don't know. Dallas proper is over 1 million, but I can't remember what's the DMA and
Sure.
Dallas Fort Worth. Um,
Sure.
but city of Dallas is over 1 million. Yeah.
So, are all of your businesses under one roof, or do you have people working in different locations and you're going from building to building in the Dallas area?
Yeah, good question. No, all of them are in one roof.
Okay.
So yeah, run them here. I'm here. I do have some employees that are remote,
Okay.
hybrid, things like that. Um, but yeah, all under one roof and allows me to. So my bookkeeping, I have like one bookkeeper who helps me with all three businesses, and so that's right here, and that makes it convenient as well.
Okay. Now you said you went to college in San Diego. That's where you and I initially met, but I don't recall. Was your degree in business, or how did you? What kind of training did you get that would help you with your current business ventures?
Yeah, um, I did get a business degree, Point Loma Nazarene University. Woohoo!
Okay. Yeah,
Uh, best campus in the world. I kid you
it is a
not.
nice
Right?
campus. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you doubt me, I just pull onto that campus, right? I mean,
Well,
golly,
my
it's
my problem
beautiful.
was that the ocean was right there, and I was too busy going boogie boarding and going to the beach to go to school, so I didn't get very good grades my first year. But
You and me both, brother. You and me both.
yeah,
And I'll never forget coming back after my first year, and my father telling me, "Well, you know what, Matt? College is not for everybody, and it just might not be for you." And I'm like, "Okay."
hmm
I'm like, well, if I go back, I better study. So yeah,
I always
yeah,
said that that first year socially was the best thing I ever did, and academically was the worst thing that I ever did.
no
So
doubt, no doubt. Yeah, but I mean, since we're talking about the jobs, we're on the podcast here.
hmm
What I did was, I was in college. I determined that I wanted to be a stockbroker. That's what I wanted to do. I met a guy who was a stockbroker. He was very successful out of Chicago.
okay,
And long story short, I went back to San Diego and decided, I want to be a stockbroker. So I got my Series 7 license before I graduated college. And
I didn't know that.
yeah, and so yeah, that's was the route that I went down immediately. And
Hmm.
I got that job. I was willing to do anything. I was like, hey, I'll be an intern, unpaid intern. I don't care. Uh, they ended up, um, uh, I, I, a lady who had graduated from our college had a job as a stockbroker, got me an interview, and then they hired me just kind of a part-time person just to come in and handle paperwork. And from there I became a broker. Then I became a manager, and then I decided, what, I don't want to be a stockbroker. I wanted to do marketing. And so they moved me over into the marketing department, and I did that and did all of these things before I was 25.
Wow.
And whenever I was 24, that company, I was employee number 143. At 24, we had 650 employees, and we were bought out by what was then TD Ameritrade.
Okay.
And TD Ameritrade's now Charles Schwab, but they purchased us, and so then I started doing marketing for TD Ameritrade, and my area was San Francisco, Washington, Seattle area, so on and so on. And but I mentioned that to say, if it's something that you want to get interested, if there's a career that you want to do in life, you know, find a way, meet somebody, you know,
Right.
get involved, and you know, take the lowest position if you have to, and if you love it, they'll see that love, and you'll work right up the ladder.
hmm There's always those people that walk in the door and you can tell they've got a fire in their eyes or a passion and they just hit the ground running. And
Yeah,
those are the folks that if you follow them for a few years, they usually have risen up to higher levels.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. And never be afraid to say what you want to do. Like,
sure.
whenever I became a manager there, I was called a regional service manager or something like that. And I did a great job at that. And the position came opening for marketing. Well, I went straight up to my boss's boss and said, "Hey, Peter, I want to be in the marketing department." And he said, "Well, Matt, you're doing great as a service manager." I said, "Yeah." I said, "I hear you, but I said, if you think I'm doing great there, wait until you put me in a position that I really want to do."
There you go.
And so he heard that and made the change. So too many times I feel like even my own employees don't tell me what they really want to do, where they really want to go, and do they want to be in front of customers more, or do they want to be behind the scenes more? What
Hmm.
you know what would make them happy? And because your boss, your manager is going to want to do that if they can. Yeah,
Yeah, the worst thing they're going to say is no if you ask, but
yeah,
you may get what you want. So,
yeah. Good point. Exactly.
yeah.
Hmm.
It's funny, I've known you for a long time, but I didn't know that you did the stockbroking thing. So that's kind of another layer to the onion that is Matt.
Yeah, yeah, it was a lot of fun. I was on Wall Street there for a while. Whenever we were purchased, yeah, it was an interesting time in my career, no doubt. So yeah.
Is that a stressful line of work being a stockbroker?
No, I didn't think so. Uh, Not at all.
Exhilarating maybe?
Yeah, it was fun. The only time it got stressful was days where the stock market was literally going crazy, whenever it was going up and down, and
Mm,
because yeah, the phones would ring off the hook on those days. People would be in a panic, and so
yeah,
but every other day was yeah pretty chill. Yeah,
that's good.
yeah,
So you did the stock market thing, then you got into marketing. Um, Talk me through how you went from marketing to taking over your dad's business and kind of what was the journey there?
sure. So when my company was bought out in San Diego, realized that if I was going to be a stockbroker, I really needed to move to New York City in order to have a quote unquote highly successful career.
Hmm.
So that's something to consider is if you want to be uh, a boat captain or something like that, well, Florida is probably where you're going to end up.
Right.
So you want to think about that, and I didn't, and I did not want to live in New York City. I love visiting New York City; it's awesome. But do I really want to raise a family there? And the answer was
Right.
no. So I moved back to Dallas, and when I did, my dad had the printing company here, and this was 99, 2000, year 2000. And so I started doing sales for my dad's printing business. And so that's how I kind of started that. And as I was working that business, the long and short of that career was, well, the print business, even in the year 2000, is not a growth industry. Um, you know, you're you can make a great living doing the printing
Hmm.
business, but if you're in, I don't know, let's just go the complete opposite. If you're in Bitcoin, then there could be a lot more growth opportunities in a
Okay.
industry that is new versus an industry that's extremely mature.
Okay.
So after after a few years, in 2006, I decided to open up my own business. And what I thought about was synergy. Um, who was I selling to in the printing business? And what do those people buy? And so what I did was I got into the copier sales business. I thought, well, I'm talking to the exact same people. So on the side, I opened up a copier sales. And within 18 months, I was like, oh, this is the worst job I've ever done in my life. I was like, these people are horrible. These people are like used car salesmen, and I do not want to be a used car salesman. This is
Right.
horrible.
I
Yeah.
wondered where you were going to go with that.
Oh my gosh, it was so bad. So bad. So I just remember sitting down, thinking about what I want to do, and a buddy of mine a sailing buddy of mine had an advertising agency at one point in time. But at the time, he wasn't doing anything really. He was just kind of working some odd advertising jobs. And so I said, well, I've done marketing in the past for the stockbroker. What if we kind of created this marketing advertising business? And so in 2008, that's what we started, the two of us, and started doing marketing plans for businesses because I realized I understood like what a SWOT analysis was, and I was pretty good at seeing people's opportunities in that, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I was really
Hmm.
good at identifying opportunities for businesses. And so I would create marketing plans. And very quickly, I realized that these business owners that I was selling to, yeah, they wanted the marketing plan, but they really wanted somebody to execute the marketing plan, create it and execute it.
Okay.
And I didn't want to work for somebody. I liked working for myself. It's nice. When you work for yourself, nobody's going to fire you.
Right.
And, and the other thing is you eat what you kill.
Yeah.
So if you're hungry, you need to hit the street and you need to go sell something and get some more business in so that you got money.
Right.
So I wasn't lining somebody else's pocket. And so then these creating these marketing plans morphed into actually executing them, which meant mostly online marketing, especially back in the year 2010. And so I just started training myself on how to build a website. And I realized within a year that I really sucked at building websites. So my first employee was a web developer.
There you go. Play to your strengths. There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah. So that's how the journey kind of happened. And I still lean into that whole strength of like meeting with a client and saying, hey, yeah, you've got a website, or hey, yeah, you've got digital ads rolling, but where you're missing the mark is over here. And with this amount of budget, I'll create the plan and I'll execute it, and we'll go out there and kick some online butt and get the phone to ring, or get the e-commerce store to happen, or get butts in seats if you're a restaurant, whatever the
Hmm.
industry is. um, that's the idea.
I This question may depend on the type of business that you're dealing with, but is there a certain type of advertising that is the most effective across the board? I mean, everything's so online nowadays. I would assume naively that online marketing would be where most everybody would find some sort of success.
Yeah. Yeah. Great question. On the printing side, it's absolutely online marketing. We rank very high for any kind of print services, postcard printing, printer near me, whatever the keyword might be.
Hmm.
And what I mean by advertising work, last month we received 70 quotes from our website, meaning,
Wow.
yeah, these are just not inquiries. We get well over 100 a month. And so, a solid 30 of those are people that are like, they call us up and say, hey, can I have, 10,000, you know, pocket folders by Friday? And we're like, no, sorry, click. Um, but so if we do a quote, we did 70 quotes last month from the internet alone. And, those mean, okay, you need, you know, 1,000 business cards by next Tuesday. Yeah, we can do that. So we'll
Hmm.
get you a quote. And if you want to roll with it, there you go. So online marketing would be number one. And and you can see that I kind of put my money where my mouth is there.
Hmm.
Um, on the websites and online marketing business, that marketing business, my number one deal is networking. Um, I'm a part of a couple of networking groups. I'm a part of a business networking group that is, it's very small. We have like 50 people max, and I receive a dramatic percentage of my business through connections I make through that networking group.
Mm.
And they are out there introducing me to other people. I literally just had the realtor in our group just sent me his roofer, and his roofer, I just went to that guy's website. He's got a horrible roofing website. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, well, no wonder you're not getting any leads off of online marketing because your website sucks. So,
Hmm.
yeah, so just networking and then people introducing me to people. Yeah.
It really makes sense. Like that roofer example that you used, he probably does really good work, and he's a craftsman in his trade, but not everybody can be an expert at everything. And so it makes total sense to hire somebody like you to just come in and go, my hands are full. I've
Yeah.
got a lot going on. I'm good at 90% of this, but this 10% I'm not good at. You
Yeah.
make it work, and you can step in and work your magic, and then everybody wins.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And you have to identify that as an entrepreneur. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have to identify what you are not good at. And
mhm.
those are the positions you've got to fill. Like, I can do every single job in the printing business and in the marketing side. Okay. I mean, I grew up running a printing press. So
Mhm.
I can totally go back there and turn on the printing press. I can get into InDesign and change something. I can go into WordPress. I can do all these different things. Okay. But I can go into QuickBooks and manage the books. Okay. But I'm not the best at those things. There are other people that can do them better, faster, more efficient than I do.
Mhm.
So that's immediately where I'm looking to, you know, hire somebody to come in and fill that spot as I'm growing my business and let me
Yeah,
do
time
the
is
thing.
money.
Yeah, yeah. And let me do the thing that I really like to do.
Sure. What would you say is your most favorite part about your occupation as an entrepreneur? Because I know that you own businesses, but at the root of it all, you are an entrepreneur. I mean, the American dream kind of thing.
Yeah, the money.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That is the American dream, is to have a good living. And if you've accomplished it, I'm happy for you.
Yeah, it's great. I like to look at, to me, my favorite part of the job is looking at different projects or different businesses and looking at the margins that I'm making on that my hard work created, you know, literally this dollar moving from my business account to my personal account. And um, that's the coolest thing about being an entrepreneur is, you know, I can see my efforts changing my life just depending on what I want to do. And
Right.
and right now I've got this massive goal of, owning a big sailboat and so on. And so, man, I'm working hard to try to make my dream a reality. Um,
Nice.
yeah, but you
Well,
know,
I hope you get your boat, but I'm seasick, so you don't need to invite. I'd get seasick. You don't need to invite me because I'd probably ruin your day. What would you say? We just talked about what you like about your job, but every job has a con to it or cons to it, to varying degrees. What would you say is something that you don't like about your job, but it's maybe just a necessary part of it?
yeah, employees are great, but employees are also the bane of your existence. Yeah. Um, that's the hardest thing. I mean, I've got great employees. My print manager has been here 26 years.
Mhm.
My, bindery and delivery driver, he's been here 32 years, I think. He's about to retire this year.
Oh, wow.
Um, so I've got, great employees for sure. My lead web developer has been with me for almost 10 years now. But um, so many times I just want everybody to show up and do their job, but
Sure.
that's not the way life works. Life,
Yeah.
their kids get sick. They have issues. They got car problems,
Mhm.
they've got a life too. And and that's the hardest part. It's just managing people,
Sure.
because, you tell customers you're going to get something done. Well, you need to do what you say you're going to do.
Right.
That's sometimes difficult.
Hmm. Yeah, it can. Life can throw a monkey wrench into things, and some people, even the best employees, sometimes it's beyond their control. But um, yeah, you're also driven as well, so there's that balance. But it sounds like if you've most places don't retain employees for that long, so if you are, it sounds to me like you're doing a pretty good job as their supervisor, their manager, boss, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I hope to. But I just had an employee who started with us a year ago, and he just resigned. And back to my previous point, I don't know exactly why he resigned. He came into this job just on fire. You know, he he got hired through a connection. Another sailing friend of mine was like, "Hey, this guy's a web developer, and he's an entry level, but he really wants to learn." And so I was like, "Sure, let's bring him on." He resigned, and I think bottom line is because he wanted me to give him more work, but he never told me that.
Mm,
So it's hard to read people's minds,
sure.
and and I think that you everybody looks at kind of like their boss and goes, "Well, my boss knows I want to make more money." Well, not always,
Hmm.
like, are you willing to do the things you really want to do to make more money? I mean,
Hmm.
the most amount of money there is in sales. If you, know, you can sell private jets, you can make a lot of money,
I bet.
So yeah, if you could sell Ferraris, you can make a lot of money,
I bet.
but some people are not willing to, learn that craft,
Hmm.
and so they feel like, uh, but yet they look at their boss and goes, well, I know my boss, you know, understands that I want to make more money, but well, you're going to have to expand your knowledge and become either more efficient or more knowledgeable for that
Hmm.
boss to pay you more money.
Yeah, there's a trade-off there.
Yeah, yeah.
That parlays into a question that was one of my favorite ones that I like to get folks feedback on. As someone who's been successful in your line of work and now you're in leadership or you're the leader of your companies, what would you advise someone who's up and coming? Soft skills is something that I've heard is missing from a lot of folks nowadays in the job market. But what kind of skills do you think separate someone if they step into your office for a job? What are the skills that maybe the intangible type things, we all understand you need to be knowledgeable and a hard worker and stuff, but what are the things that separate candidates in your mind if you're interviewing people?
Mm. Um, if this rarely happens, um, but if somebody knows themselves, then I can find a place for them. And I know it's a weird thing to say. Um, what I do whenever I interview somebody is I give them what's a test called Strength Finders. Okay, and it's a personality test, right?
Okay.
We've heard of different ones. Are you an otter? Are you a lion?
Oh,
But
sure.
Strength Finders is like 32 or 34 different strengths that that each one of us has. We're all good at something, and so what? Sorry if you're hearing the phone ring. It's
No, that's all
we're in
right.
business. Hey, man, we're
It
making money. I
happens.
hope. I hope.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time out of making money to talk to me.
Hope somebody answers that and takes a credit card. I
Yeah.
don't. um, no, so Strength Finders just says these are the things that you are really good at, and so you should lean into those. So if somebody were to come in and interview with me, and even after I hire them, I come back and talk to them about their strengths. So, for example, my strengths. Okay, I am a I am a communication person, so I like to talk. If you haven't figured that out, then I don't know where you're at on this podcast, but I love to talk. Okay.
Mhm.
So communication is one of my strengths. Okay. I'm analytical, meaning that I can look at a problem and figure out an answer. Um, may not be the right answer, but I'll figure out an answer. And I'm also like a woo, which stands for like winning others over. It means whenever I walk into a crowded room and I see 100 people in there, and I see Tim standing on one side, and on the other is somebody I've never met before, I want to go talk to the person I've never met before. I've already talked to
Okay.
Tim. Tim's awesome.
Right.
I love Tim. But man, I already know your story, brother. I don't
Hmm.
know this person at all. So I'm a woo. So those are like three of my top strengths. And so somebody that can come in and understand like this is who I am and this is what I'm really good at.
Hmm.
Um, my lead developer, he's a learner. He loves to read and learn things. So now that I know that, like I'm like giving him stuff like, hey Michael, would you research this? Would you figure out what the deal is on this? He's like, oh hell yeah, let me at
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
Where I'm like, learner is way down on me. Like I don't like to read all that. I'm like, just give me the high level information. I'm analytical. I'll tell you what we need to do with that information, but I don't want to go research it.
Hmm.
So that would be the thing I would tell somebody is that if you could take some of these tests, Strength Finders is one of the best. Just Google it. Uh,
Okay.
then you're really gonna find what you are good at. It's like $35, and you get like your top five strengths. And what I always tell people is that LeBron James or name another Michael Jordan, Tom Brady. Tom Brady is one of the best quarterbacks statistics wise that has ever played the game.
Hmm.
I bet that man would make an amazing golfer. I bet he can make the PGA Tour. He's just a natural athlete, you know,
Hmm.
and he could make the PGA Tour. But guess what? He is a better quarterback. So he can go make the PGA Tour, or he can win Super Bowls as a quarterback. You know,
Yeah.
like do what you're really really good at. So if
Hmm.
you figure that out, lean into that because nobody else is as good as you are at those few items.
It's, I think sometimes folks, and maybe it's a confidence issue, but sometimes they don't quite feel comfortable accepting I'm not good at that. And
Right.
so, but I am good at that. And so I need to lean into that. There's nothing wrong with not, you're not going to be good at everything.
Yeah.
Everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, and you just got to figure out what those are. And it doesn't mean you're a failure if you're not good at something. It just means you need to focus on what you are good at.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, but don't worry about your weaknesses, in my opinion,
Hmm.
especially from a job, from a career standpoint. Like, why are you if you don't like to work with your hands, why are you taking a job as a mechanic? That's
Right.
crazy, right?
Hmm.
Well, I need to work on my weakness. Like,
Do that on your
okay,
on your weekends then.
so you're going to make yourself miserable. Got it. Okay.
Right.
That
Right.
sounds, a good way to spend the next 10 years of your life.
Hmm.
That's just ludicrous. Figure
Yeah.
out what you're good at. Don't worry about your weaknesses. Lean into
Mhm.
those strengths. I've got an employee, and one of her strengths is positivity. Well, guess who I have leading the client meetings whenever we're getting status updates? She
Yeah.
is. Sherry does all that. Why? Because she's going to look at every single number and go, well, your website is looking amazing here. And look at the social traffic here. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, we're killing it over here. Everything is positive in her eyes, you know?
Right.
So she fits wonderfully talking to clients about how great of a job we're doing. You know?
Right.
So yeah.
The silver lining employee.
Yeah. I don't put the person who's like, well, I just tell it to you as it is and I tell you the real stuff. Yeah, they're
Right.
not the person I put in front of employee or in front of customers.
Right.
Those are the people that I want to tell me the real answer, but I don't want
Mhm.
them telling the customer. Got to sugarcoat it.
Yeah. One of the realities of business or just being a human being is that you get things right sometimes, but sometimes you get things wrong. You make the wrong decision or you fail in some aspect. How do you basically coach people if you have an employee that makes the wrong decision and makes a mistake? How do you help them deal with failure?
Yeah, that's tough. Um, that's very tough. Okay, so again, I go back to the strength finders. That's
Okay.
what I do. Um, because because when you go to that is someone that's a relator, okay, instead of a woo, I'm the person that walks in and talks to everybody, okay.
Hmm.
So you can tell me something negative that I did horrible in this podcast, and I'll go, okay, thanks, I appreciate it. Yeah, I won't do that next time. I
Hmm.
appreciate it. See you later. You tell a relator that same thing. Hey, your podcast was horrible. That answer was ridiculous.
Hmm.
They take it personally, because
Okay.
everything about them is deep relationships. My wife is a relator. I can't tell her what she did wrong. So I look at who I'm dealing with first, as to how I can either, shoot it straight or whether or not I got to be gentler. But the
Yeah.
bottom line is you can never run, you can never manage anybody or anything by using the management style called hinting and hoping.
Yeah.
I'm going to hint that, Tim, you should do this. And I'm going to hope that you pick up on my hint. You
Right.
know, I'm going to kind of dance around it. Whatever you want to call it, I call it hinting and hoping. I'm going
Hmm.
to hint that this is a problem and I'm going to hope you're going to do something about it. Well, that doesn't work. Ultimately you do have to just come right out and say, hey, you screwed it up, and you know, how can we not do this again?
Right.
Yeah.
I've I've had some, I've made a career in the fire service, and I've had some captains in the past that used that approach you just talked about, was hint and hope. And we missed each other constantly. We were frustrated with each other, and I finally just had to sit down and say, "This isn't working. What do you want from me?"
Yeah.
And they would tell me exactly what they wanted, and I said, "Okay, I didn't know you wanted any of that. I'm glad to do it." And
Yeah.
so now moving forward, now that the lines of communication were forced open, then okay, I know exactly what he wants now, and I want to be a good employee, so I'm going to do it. And then things improve tenfold.
Yeah.
So communication, it always comes down to that, I think.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. It does. It does. And you know, and it's got to be a two-way street. The fact that you went to that boss and said what's going
yeah,
on
right.
is very important. The
Hmm.
employee that just resigned, I'm like, my senior web developer was like, oh man, I loved him. He was great.
Hmm.
It's like, yeah, well, I guess he just never told us what he really wanted.
Hmm.
And so it's like, okay, well, and maybe what he wanted was to stop working on computers and start working on cars. I don't know. you
Yeah,
know, that's fine. But
sure.
he went and took a job as doing statistics. So looking at working for a construction company, compiling all their numbers. So
Hmm,
okay, that's definitely more, left brain than right brain. So maybe that's what he
mhm,
wanted,
maybe.
So okay, but he never told me. So that will remain a mystery forever unless he shares it with me one day. Maybe
Right.
he'll hear this podcast and call me.
Well, I sure hope so. I hope I get big enough to where everybody in Texas hears it.
That's
But
right. That's right.
um, in your career as you've gone along, you've mentioned a few folks that like your dad had the business, and I'm sure he taught you a lot. But have there been any mentors that you really every time you think about your growth and your improvement and your success, like this man or woman or this person was really influential in your success?
Yeah. Yeah. In everything that I'm doing, I'm looking for someone to mentor me. Um, so I mentioned I like to sail. So guess what, guys? Anytime I meet somebody that's a better sailor than me, I'm kind of like, trying to kiss butt and say, hey, yeah, you're really awesome. How'd you do that? And
Hmm.
um, I'm always looking for that. So in business, it's the same thing. Yes, I look to my father for a lot of, you know, what he was able to give me. My grandfather was an entrepreneur, and so I think back to how he handled some things as well and
Hmm.
learned from there. Um, but on the other side, they don't they they were very, very conservative in the way that they handled money, which is fine, which is great. But I never really got a view of, say, debt. They were always like, hey, don't buy anything on debt. Everything is cash first, cash first.
Hmm.
And I think that's wonderful. I really do. But I was very curious about how these other people operated always with lines of credit.
Hmm.
So I sought out a business coach. I've had a business coach now for the past 7 years, and she is a teacher here at one of the local colleges here in town. She's a finance professor. And
Hmm.
so now my business coach, who I run all sorts of different, well, this employee or this customer did this or whatever it may be. But when it comes down to, okay, my P&Ls or my balance sheets, and like, I don't really understand how the balance sheet would work and why would a bank give me money, she really can help mentor me and explain those things. So I'm looking for any time, even my networking group. I found a mentor in my networking group, this older gal who had been networking forever. And I was like, Peggy, tell me how to make this work for me.
Hmm.
And if it's worth your time, then it's worth finding somebody to help you, you know, as a mentor.
Hmm.
Yeah.
the the finance coach that you were talking about, there is a strategic use of debt that I'm sadly not as informed as I should be, but
Me
I can
too.
see how.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, but see, you recognize an area that you could improve, and you wanted someone who was an expert in that, and so you reached out to this financial teacher,
Yeah.
and that's her area of expertise. So it seems like that's a smart thing to do, is to talk to an expert and
Yeah.
let them teach you, not just tell you what to do, but you get an education as well as you get the guidance.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that you have to take their advice either. I mean,
right.
I still pay cash for my cars. I
Hmm.
don't like doing the loans, and I can understand why people do it. But to me, it's a very simple process. I learned from my in-laws, in which, if you got a $300 a month car payment, that's great. After that car payment is done, you keep paying yourself $300, but instead of it going to the, loan company, it goes into your savings account. And
Okay.
3 years later, guess what? You've got, I got to do the math, but you got,
A lot of money.
12, 15 grand. I don't know.
Yeah,
Someone's
something
going to
like
go,
that.
yeah, that guy didn't know
Yeah.
numbers at all.
Yeah. No, you're a marketing guy, remember?
Exactly.
Yeah. Dave Ramsey would love your advice. Maybe
That's,
I'll get him on the show one day.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you were not in the career that you're in right now, is there an occupation, or if you want to be a rock star, or where, if you could choose to change careers, anything in the world, what do you think it would be?
I'd probably be a boat captain down in the Caribbean.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
very nice.
And that's what I'm trying to work toward is maybe getting a little charter business going down there and just kind of living the dream, um, you know, island to island and
Yeah.
again, I'm a woo. I like to meet new people. So great, new people come on board. Terrific. Let's spend a week, sailing the islands and enjoying life. But yeah, that would probably be my career. I I nearly did it, Tim, in college.
Yeah.
Right after we graduated, I wanted to quit my stockbroker job and move to Palau. Long story short, I met a guy. I had a connection, and I was going to go down there and basically be like a dive assistant
Hmm.
and start that journey. And nearly did it, but then I don't know. I fell in love.
Oh boy. Yeah, women will change things, won't they? And usually it's for the better, though.
Amen. That's true. Amen and
Yeah.
amen. Yeah. If they change it and it's typically for the better. Yeah.
Well, she didn't eliminate the dream. It's just got delayed by
That's right.
25 or 30 years.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
and she probably would want to go with you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
trying.
Good deal. So one of your hobbies, you said you're into sailing. You don't hear a lot of folks that are into sailing. Uh, I mean, I guess maybe not in my circles, obviously, because I'm in the middle of the United States. But um,
Dallas is
do you
kind of in the
prefer?
middle too. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I suppose. Is there a big lake somewhere there where you do most of your sailing, close to where you live?
Yeah, there's a few lakes around Dallas.
Okay.
There's a large one about a little over an hour north, but there's a small one right here inside the city limits, and there's a lot of sailboats on it, and yeah, there's quite a few lakes around Dallas actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
When you sail, do you typically do just leisurely sailing, or do you like to get involved in races, or both?
Man, I'm a racer. I'm a racer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, so this past Saturday, I was on White Rock Lake here in Dallas, and it was a one-man boat, and I was racing. And one race I came in first, and the next two I came in last. So God humbles you.
yeah. The wind's gonna be there. Or it's not.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
You start feeling good about something. You're like, man, I'm pretty good at this, and then you just get
There's
hammered.
some business advice there as well. You better stay humble,
That's
or
that's
life will
right.
humble you.
That's
So
right. That's right.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Don't spend all your money.
Right.
Their winter is coming. You never know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think I know the answer to this question based on what you just said about sailing, but where is either a favorite vacation destination that you've been to, or somewhere that you would love to go?
Uh, yeah, yeah. Well, it is around the water. That is
I
true.
figured.
Yeah, my favorite destination I've been to is Tahiti and Bora Bora.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, just amazing. Love Bora Bora. Just phenomenal. And the place that's next on my list is both Phuket, Thailand, and Croatia. So
Wow.
those are my next two. I'm trying. We'll see.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you accomplish it.
Yeah. Thanks.
Eh,
Thanks, man.
What's is there anybody famous that you may admire, or they don't have to be famous, but maybe someone that the listeners might know of, like Elon Musk or somebody like that?
Yeah. Probably. I'm not big on putting people on pedestals.
Sure.
Everybody's going to let you down.
Yeah.
I go to church every weekend, and I love it whenever my pastor stands up there and says, "Hey, welcome to Northwest Bible Church. We're glad you're here. We're gonna let you down." You know,
Hmm.
we're all people, and
Hmm.
so, every church and every person and every political party in every country is gonna let you down.
Yeah.
And so, but I think that, I listen to their message. I know that, there's certain people out there in the world, and a person's message that I really like is, you mentioned him earlier, is Dave Ramsey. Um,
Oh, sure.
yeah, I really like his message. I like, what he preaches. I don't always agree with every single thing, but yeah, I mean, if you're in debt, or if you want to get ahead in life, if you are worried about, paying for something, just start listening to his stuff and reading his books, and you'll be there within a few years. And
Yeah.
yeah, you'll look back and go, man, Bora Bora was awesome, So,
Hmm.
but yeah, I've got a vacation account, and so I look to put money in there so that I can get to Phuket, Thailand. So yeah.
You were talking earlier about how you deliver, excuse me, information to employees or whatever, and the different personalities. Dave Ramsey is one of those rip the band-aid off kind of a delivery guys. He basically tells you exactly what you need to hear, whether you want it or not.
True. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Don't
but
don't call
sometimes
into
that,
his radio show. You're right. He'll
oh
he'll
yeah,
he'll tell you how it
yeah,
is.
he's gonna be blunt, but sometimes that's what needs to happen. So,
True. True.
well, Matt, one more question for you, and then we'll wrap things up. And I really do appreciate your time today. What is the best compliment that you recall ever receiving?
Oh wow, man. You know, I'm handsome. I'm intelligent. Let's see here. Which one can I go
I mean,
with?
besides the obvious, Matt.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Which
yeah,
which
yeah.
one can I use?
So many of them to go through. I know you got a big Rolodex there.
Exactly. No, since we're talking about jobs,
Hmm.
and what we're doing there, I think, most of my compliments, I'm thinking about, business type stuff. And,
Sure.
and so, yeah, I have a client, appliance store, high-end appliances, Miele, Thermador, Sub-Zero, Gaggenau, those type brands.
Hmm.
And we help them dramatically with their business, and ultimately they were able to sell that business to a large organization called Ferguson. They're nationwide, and
Okay.
and so yeah, he complimented me on on just helping him take the business to another level, and helping him sell it. And that was, it was a long conversation, but it was a great compliment. And that's, I said earlier, oh, the money's great, but you know, helping people achieve their goals, even if there's something in this podcast that I helped, your listener achieve, a goal in the future. uh,
Hmm.
that's one of the cool things about being an entrepreneur, and having employees that you manage and are responsible for, and you just want people to set goals and achieve them.
Sure. Well, getting paid is one form of reward, but then also when someone gives you a genuine expression of gratitude, that is very rewarding.
Yeah,
The currency is different, but the value is still there.
yeah,
So,
yeah, for sure, for sure. I was humbled, that he would realize that our efforts helped him accomplish his goals, because sometimes, you know, um, people that sell their businesses are just, they're on to greener pastures, and
yeah,
I did it, I'm done, I'm out,
right.
and yeah, I was humbled that he remembered and complimented. So yeah, it was
Sure.
nice. It was
Good
a
deal.
very nice afternoon. Yeah.
Oh, I bet. Matt, thank you so much. You've given a lot of solid information and sharing your experiences and stuff, your success. I think anybody listening to this could be able to pull something away that they can apply to their job search or their career or even their personal life. If they want to go down the Dave Ramsey road, that certainly would help as well. But I thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to speak with me today.
Yeah, man.
So,
Absolutely. No, thanks for having me, and thanks for doing this. Very cool. Very
yeah,
cool of you.
thank you. Well, thanks, folks, for joining me today. As always, we wait till the end of our interviews before we ask for any likes, shares, or subscriptions. We want to make sure that you like what you hear, and hopefully you can take it and apply it to your life. We will see you on the next one. Have a great day.